back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. We have a returning guest today, Natalie Norcross. Natalie is the CEO and founder of A Design Partnership. Natalie has over 19 years experience working for interior designers, architects, builders, developers, hotel and home brands, and her firm has a demonstrated track record of driving exposure and placements through the PR they produce for their clients. Natalie was on the show in episodes number 162 and 506. And in episode 506, we talked about the 4 areas to pay attention to when you are going after press for your design firm. I highly encourage you to listen to both of these episodes where you'll not only pick up some outstanding business advice, you'll also learn more about Natalie and her career. I'd like to thank My Doma Studio for sponsoring the show today. You'll hear how Natalie is all about having a specific roadmap for how she teaches you how to do your own PR. And Sarah Daniele, the CEO of My Doma Studio, believes you need a roadmap to run the back end of your interior design firm, which is exactly why she created My Doma Studio. This is the platform for you to run every aspect of your design project, from QuickBook integration to client payments, to creating packages for your different service offerings, to client communication. And you remember what my friend Corey Klassen said at LuAnn Live last year. On stage, he said, if you didn't tell me in My Doma Studio, you didn't tell me. So go now and see how you can get your firm more organized and running smoothly. Go to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. That's mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Okay, let's talk about PR with Natalie Norcross. Hi, Natalie. Thanks so much for coming back to A Well-Designed Business today.
Hello, LuAnn. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I mean, your show is one of those shows that people love because you're such a #smart lady and you shared so much good advice. And you know me, when I find you guys like this, I bring you back again and again until I get every last drop out of you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me back. I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about the 5 things to do to get published, because of course, this is your expertise, Natalie, and we've talked about there's multiple topics that you really could talk to us on, and probably in future episodes we'll do exactly that. But for right now, 5 things to get published. And I was looking at your list, and the first thing that you have at the top of your list is be specific. What does that mean for us? And when you're working with your interior design clients, Natalie, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that being specific is really helpful in a couple things that we suggest is just define who your dream client or your, dream audience is. And then from there, develop your unique style. I think having a specific niche market really does serve you and helps to create that point of differentiation, which is really key. When we work with clients with our full service agency, that's what we really look at is, what is your point of differentiation? How are we going to differentiate your brand and your messaging strategy, as opposed to the next designer? And so even with interior design PR, we've been working a lot with our members and just defining your niche, being really specific, fine tuning who your dream client and audience is, and then develop that, unique style from there. And that's really, helpful in getting press as well as just building your brand.
So, this is one of the questions that I get very often, Natalie, when we do our Power Talk Friday all day coaching events, when I do one-on-one coaching, is a designer will say to me, I don't know what, Fred Burns was on the show and he called it, now I lovingly call it the Fred Burns only. I don't know what my differentiator is. I don't know what my unique niche is. And so the thing is, we've had a lot of discussions about it, and sometimes we get these aha moments, but there are times when a designer is saying, look, my target audience, my target dream client is high-end luxury. What is it beyond that? Like, how do I as a designer hone in on it? And some designers, Natalie, have it very clear for themselves. Like maybe they are a vegan designer, or maybe they are, we've had designers that specialize in single men in, 40s to 60s. Like talk about like a niche, right? That's Lisa Escobar. So it's one thing when it really calls out to you, but give us some tips for the designer that doesn't have it as an external thing. They're not specifically into sustainability or biophilic design. Like how do you help them find that for themselves, Natalie?
Great question. So we have what's called a personality questionnaire, and that is where we have our clients and our members fill in a really detailed questionnaire that helps to get to that exact mission, which is, what is your point of differentiation? How can we define your niche? Who is your dream client? Some of the questions that are on there is, how would you describe your brand's personality in 4 words? Everybody always gets so knocked up on that. They're like, wait, I have 50 words. I'm like, I get it, but you're going to have to narrow it down to 4, So that's really, it's just an awesome way that you can kind of answer some questions. And then from there, really understand, okay, this is what my point of differentiation is. This is how, my messaging strategy will kind of be tailored towards that unique niche.
So I like that. You know what I'm saying about that, what you're saying about that, pick 4 words that describe your brand. That's a silver bullet right there, because you really can. And I'm sure the questionnaire that you have, makes designers think more deeply about themselves. But when you task someone with saying, give me 4 words that describe you, that's a whole different ballgame, because now you are, like you said, your first reaction is to put 20 words, 50 words. But when you come back and say, no, you get 4, that's narrowing in, right?
Right.
And so what types of things happen there? I'm going to pull this apart because I really do know how many people do struggle with this, Natalie. So what types of things happen there? Do you have it for yourself that we could use you as an example, possibly?
Great question. It's been years since I filled this out. It's a really awesome thing. I love it.
All right, wow. We don't have to, because I was thinking, I would do mine, off the cuff, and I thought, no, I got to think about that. I get certain things that come to mind right away. Okay, so let's use me example, right? Because I didn't know you were going to say this, so I am not prepared either. So, first of all, comes to mind right off the top of my head is direct, bold, fearless, tenacious, la. But as it's the same thing that you just said, I'd be writing, and I'd be like, wait, but I only get 4. So come back. Yeah. And then I would go, oh, wait a minute, honest. You know what I mean? And I would say, you know what I mean? And so then I would start to be like, oh, strategic, visionary. Like I would start to do all this. I'd be like, oh, but what are only the 4? So that's a great exercise. I might have to spend some time on that. The next millennium, when I get some time, I will, though.
Right, exactly. Yeah, especially because, even just jot down all 50, right? And then narrow it down and, okay, out of these 50, these are my top 20. And then narrow it down even further and just dive deeper. And, these are like the top 4 words that really describe, my brand and what my mission is. That's another really great question is, what is your company mission? What are words that we should always avoid? What are the 7 publications that you enjoy reading and find inspiration from? It's just a really great way to kind of take your brand's personality and really fine tune it, through an awesome questionnaire that helps to create that, dream client, that dream audience.
So I love this because I was going to, go back to the 4 words, but I'm seeing how that's only one part of all of the results that you're going after. So because I was going to go back and say to you, so let's say the 4 words are bold, fearless, tenacious, and crazy pants, right? Like, let's say that's the 4 words. And then I was going to say, well, how, if I'm an interior designer and those are my 4 words, how do I find a brand voice in there that relates to design? But now when you say things like, what is your company mission? What publications do you get inspiration from? Now I'm understanding. If I sit back and I look at all of this information, maybe my top 4 words in a certain way might align with the top 4 publications that I use for inspiration, right? So, right? Am I on the right track here?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Totally on the right track.
Okay. And so if I then take it a step further and this exploration of my mission and my values and my 4 words and the publications that I like and the type of clients that I like to work with, if I look at this all these results, now I can start to say, oh, these 4 publications relate to my mission and value. They relate to my 4 main words. And this client is, high-rise city dwellers. Like all of a sudden, maybe I'm starting to find it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or, I mean, even going deeper, some of the questions are, what are the 4 places that your ideal client likes to hang out? Or list the 5 companies whose business presence that you respect and would like to emulate. So it's just a really great way of like extrapolating all the, as business entrepreneurs, we just kind of keep on going and don't spend as much time kind of looking within. So by going through this questionnaire, I try to tell clients, don't overthink it. Just like the first thing that comes to mind, run it through, do like a quick write, like spend 30 minutes, just quick write through the questionnaire. Because oftentimes the things that are subconscious that like just come to you flippantly are the things that really define your niche and what makes you really, valuable and unique.
Right. I love it. Now, everybody's going to say, do I have to be a client to get this questionnaire?
No, email me and I'll send it to you.
Okay. I really thought you were going to say yes, which is totally your privilege and right to say yes. Be prepared, Natalie. I'm just going to say.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to give that to any and all of the listeners for sure.
Oh, well, that's awesome. That's so great because it really, I'm excited thinking about how much you can learn about yourself. It's like when we do what is it called? The Enneagrams and the Briggs-Myers and all of that stuff, right? But this is more directed towards your business and your relationship and your thoughts and your ideals about your business.
Absolutely. Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So now we've done this exercise. We've gotten specific. Maybe we've had some aha moments and we're starting to feel like, okay, I'm starting to get who my Fred Burns only is in myself, right? Now, the next thing that you have on your list is be the face of your brand and be the expert. Tell us a little bit about how you work with your clients to teach them to do this, Natalie.
Absolutely. So interior design is really linked to emotions and feelings. So, trying to get clients comfortable to share more about who they are, and, let them know that your target audience is, who you are, who's your mission, what are you about, what are your morals. And so I think being really, comfortable with that and positioning yourself as the expert that you are really allows you to be the face of the brand, be the expert. And that confidence comes through and it attracts clients that are confident. It attracts clients that are like-minded, so, really just allowing yourself to be that face, be that expert and feel really comfortable, sharing who you are because you are linking to another human emotionally, and interior design is an emotionally driven type of business.
So the thing what I like about this is that if you have done thoughtful work with step 1, you're going to have the tools to do step 2. right?
Right.
Right. So I'm imagining if you had said to me, first step, LuAnn, is be comfortable with who you are, be comfortable with being the face of your brand. I know I would have spent 5 minutes saying, well, Natalie, how do we know what to say? How do we know what to, do a video about for our website? How do we know what to post on Instagram about ourselves and our brand? But if you've done all that great work in step one, now all of a sudden your brain is probably just running through all the different little topics that you could take and explain about yourself, and to your point, being comfortable and confident in expressing that to the potential clients.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like a building block, like you need to lay the foundation and be really specific and define, your dream client and your audience. And then from there, you can build on top of that and start to be the face of your brand, showcase your expertise, allow people to understand your morals and what it is that differentiates you and defines you from there. So absolutely, I think it's a building block for sure.
I love it. And then places to be the face of your brand and to be the expert. I mean, my brain is not naturally going to Instagram, but that's not the limit of it. What other places do you suggest once they have their sea legs and they feel that they have their message confident and they know how to express it? Where and how do they do that?
Absolutely. I mean, thankfully, in today's world, there's tons of ways. You can, post different ebooks, articles, videos, things on your website, through all of your social media, through your emails, adding blogs on your website. And then, of course, with media. So pitching to media outlets, getting, different pitches, articles, ideas, and your expertise out there, whether it be with Architectural Digest, House Beautiful, Elle Decor, in print or online, sharing videos, blogs, podcasts, you name it. There's just tons of different ways you can get it out there, doing speaking engagements at different events and things of that nature. So there is just a multitude of ways in today's digital era where you can get your messaging out there. You can get it on YouTube. You can share it in Instagram and Facebook, as well as, through all those different forms.
I love it. And so the thing is, on one hand, it's exciting. And I'm thinking to myself, right, there's a dozen places to do this. On the other hand, Natalie, actually executing it. When someone works with your firm, of course, you take a lot of this legwork out, and your team is the one that does a lot of the pitches and facilitates a lot of this. But for a designer that is doing it his or herself, do you recommend that they take this list of all possibilities, speaking engagements, media pitches, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, writing blog posts for your own website, making videos for your own website? Do you suggest that they, maybe take one or two to really create your voice and your brands and have some success with it, and then build, because it's overwhelming. It's almost like there's 15 things to do, so I'm going to get none of them done. Yay.
Yeah, totally. We recommend for our members with interior design PR that they, block out in their calendar anywhere from 2 to 3 hours 2 times a month on a Friday. And because we are able to give designers all the tools that they need to get published, that's really all they need is 4 hours a month to put together their pitches and send them off to editors and then do follow-ups. So we recommend that, our members send out 6 pitches per month. And most of our members spend just that, 4 hours a month. We have, of course, others who are overachievers and they spend more time and they pitch a lot more, but they get a lot more press, right? Like the more you pitch, the more press you're going to get. Right. So it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing as long as you plan for it. Plan out in your calendar for the next 3 months. Every other Friday, I'm going to spend 2 hours, 3 hours just doing, PR and marketing for my business. And that's really all you need.
That's amazing. And see, that just made it doable. That's the thing. It just made it doable. Just go to your calendar. Like my friend Amber de la Garza says, block it out. And when it shows up in your to-do list, do it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like on Thursday, when you're planning your next day on Friday, it's just in your calendar and it's blocked out. You've made time for it. And it doesn't really require more time than that. I think a lot of times people get overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, it's going to take forever for me to, send a pitch to an editor or follow up with them. And it really doesn't. I mean, it's all about, just sending an email, building a relationship. I think, one thing that I've been on a mission is just changing the industry's mindset. I think designers really think that they need an expensive publicist to get published, and they really don't. They just need the tools. They just need to know how to do it and who to contact. And so that's why I'm really excited about interior design PR, is because we give you all those tools for a small fraction of what a full service agency would charge.
I love it. I love it. Now, let's talk about the pitch just for a minute, because it's sort of a pet peeve with me. So I remember years ago, Amy Fleury was on my show, and she gave such terrific advice about understanding who you're pitching. And I remember her saying, no matter which publication or media outlet you are pitching, you've got to know that outlet's content. You have to know. So, for instance, if Elle Decor has a certain style and House Beautiful has a different style, you don't send the same pitch with the same projects to each if each of those magazines has a very specific style and it's different from each other. Because that is the mistake that people make. They just send a pitch in that they have copy and pasted and sent it to multiple places, but it's completely inappropriate. And I'll share with you what happens on the podcast. If I had a nickel for every time a PR rep sent me a pitch about their interior design client, and the entire pitch is talking about their design credentials, their design accolades. Oh, and this project this, and this project that, and this style that, the beaches and the dunes inspired this or that designer. And I'm like, and what's the business content that they want to talk about? Like, it's just like, if you've listened, and what I also particularly love is it usually starts with, we're a big fan of your show. And I'm like, really? A big fan of the show, are you? Because I don't talk about the dunes and the beaches, and I don't talk about your awards. I talk about what you can teach your colleagues about how you've run your business. And here's the part that really saddens me about it, is because when I look, because I always take the time to look at the designer's website that they're pitching, I know that designer is a successful designer. I can see the years of experience, blah, blah, blah. But they haven't told me what their point of view is that relates to my audience. And so then it has gotten so overrun with this that we've now developed the dumbass PR response email. That's what I call it. Send them the dumbass PR email. And so the thing is, and I remember Amy saying as an editor how frustrating it is to get a pitch that's off mark. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I love it. Yeah, you're totally jumping to tip number 5.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Awesome. No, it's great, because it really, timing is everything, and you have to know the editorial calendars for each magazine that you pitch to. I mean, every magazine or publication, obviously not all podcasts, are publishing what their themes are, their editorial calendars are, but we know that you're about business, right? So that's all that we're pitching all of the time, right? But right. You have to know their editorial calendars. And so we actually have 25 different editorial calendars for 2020 on the membership portal. And I recommend that you just get very familiar with your top 5. If your top 5 are House Beautiful, Elle Decor, Lonnie, Domino, and My Domain, understand what their themes are and what they're going to be writing about, because timing really is everything, and they have themes each month. And so if you pitch towards those themes, then you're honestly have more of a chance of getting picked up than not. And so, editorial calendars are very important. Get very familiar with who you're pitching to. If it is a podcast that's speaking about design and business, then you're pitching about design and business and not dunes on the beaches, right? So it's important that you really understand, your goal and why you think that this partnership is going to be a good partnership, and why, they should choose you. And so I think that's key, is just understanding timing and editorial calendars and who you're pitching to, is exactly what needs to be done in order to be picked up.
Yeah. And, I will tell you what's an interesting thing, Natalie, that I find, and you may find it really interesting as well. 9 out of 10 times, the bad pitch is from a PR rep, and 9 out of 10 times, the guest, the designer that pitches herself is on the money.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And the thing is, you know me, I get nuts about stuff like this because I want to I would never do it. Don't think I would ever do it. But my brain goes, I want to go to the designer that's paying for this PR rep and say, this is the poor job that they're doing on your behalf. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's a professional. They should know exactly what you're telling, know who you're pitching to, what their content is, the timing of the content, if it's relative to what you're doing. So yeah. And I love it. So should we go back to number 3 before we finish number 5?
We could skip ahead to the end. I like dessert first anyways.
Okay. So we'll finish number 5. So are there other things in number 5? Timing is everything is number 5. So it's understanding the editorial content calendar. And so, if you have a great spread idea pitch for the fall holiday, you need to know their calendar because they might be looking and putting that together in April or March. You don't come showing up to that editor in October for a November feature. So it's that type of thing with knowing the content calendar. Or also, I'm sure you're talking about the kitchen and bath issue is XYZ issue. So it's not just the timing of it, though, but it's also the respect part like that I'm talking about, right? Where even if you're pitching it in January and the kitchen and bath is August, you say, I know that your highly acclaimed kitchen and bath issue comes out in August. I'd like to put this in for your consideration, right? Like just say you know something about them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so cool is, so the pitches that we create, kind of the pitch templates, and they're all timely as it relates to short lead and long lead. So for instance, like what we're pitching today for short lead is something that's going to be for summer. But if for long lead, we might already be working on winter. And so all of the pitches that on the 15th of every month, we upload new pitches, and they're all timely according to short lead and long lead cadence, right? So what we might be having going live short lead now is summer, but we're always looking ahead for long lead as well for those parent opportunities as well. And so the pitches that, we create are kind of in line with those editorial calendars, as well as what's being, pitched and what's being placed on a short lead and a long lead basis. And so I think just understanding what is short lead, what is long lead. I get a lot of questions, from members like, I don't even know what short lead means. What is that? And I like to say it's something that's going to go live in like 0 to 3 months. So it might be something that's online or, a quick turnaround on a print opportunity. And then long lead is something that's going to be, 3 to 6 months out. So it might be something that's in print or, for that August calendar, like you're talking about. And so just understanding what, that looks like and how to plan that out in your pitching and in your editorial calendars, that mirror, the different media outlets that you're reaching out to.
Okay. And that's the truth. You could get, an idea for outdoor summer living that would be, like you said, maybe a digital. It's going to come out right away and they only need it 3 weeks or a month ahead of time. Whereas the other is, I love that differentiation there, that distinction there, I should say, between short and long lead and the opportunities and the short leads. You got to move into gear. They need collateral. They need the information. They need the quotes. Like, you don't say, oh, okay, over the weekend, I'll do it. It's like, I need it, get it done. Right.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we recommend. I mean, you put all of that in the pitch right away. You send the pitch with some thumbnail images and a link to, a Dropbox file with the high res images. Because if it's short lead, they're going to take those images and they're going to run with it. They're on deadline. They move quick. They got to get going. They don't have time to, wait for you to send them the high res images. You just include all of it in the pitch, and the likelihood of that getting turned over is even that much greater.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that is another one of, I would imagine, like I start to visualize, well, how am I going to have all that ready? Well, these are the kinds of things that you do ahead of time, and that maybe you just have a Dropbox file that it's like, here's my point of view and my things on, kitchen hardware design. I don't know. And these are the pictures that I have for it. And here's the bullet points, or here's the pre-done paragraph that I can edit as needed on the fly for a specific publication, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like having it ready, like taking the time to have the work product ready so that in the middle of doing client presentations and vendor meetings and a media opportunity comes up, you're not starting to invent the wheel from right that moment.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of designers say, you know, what do I need to do to prepare myself for PR? And really the best thing that you can do is just get if you're not already organized and have your photos all organized on a server or Dropbox, just get them all organized in one area where you have your high res, low res images in, you know, maybe separated by project name in one area that you can easily, you know, go to be able to, you know, pitch that. Or if you're pitching something as it relates to breakfast nooks or playrooms, that you can easily find it, link it, you know, add it into an email really quickly. So usually I think that's really the only thing that you need to prepare yourself for PR. And then, of course, diving into the personality questionnaire and all of the other things comes once you really have kind of all of your imagery in an organized area.
Okay. I love it. I love that. And that takes a minute to organize all of your photography by product or by project, or maybe cross-reference it both ways. You might have one that's all by project, and you might have the same pictures now in different boxes by product. And so that if you're looking for kitchen product, you can go to it. If you're looking for location project, you can go to it, because some regional magazines will want ideas and pitches that are based on the geo area of the project, as opposed to what specifically the content of the project is. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's no one that knows their project better than the designer, right? I mean, you've been intimately involved with it, 100% true. So a lot of times I will have clients ask, do I need to do it by project and by area and by product? And I'm like, you can, and I think that's great if you want to, but you don't really need to necessarily spend the time. We found the most organized way is just develop a folder for every project and put all of the high-res, low-res images in there for each project. And then as things come up, like, oh, I want to submit for this kitchen feature, that like the Carlisle project and the Smiths project, those are beautiful kitchens. I'm going to submit, the 10 photos of the kitchen from this project and that project. Because you know them so intimately. So if you're working on them, then that's great. Sometimes you might have an assistant on your team that doesn't know them as well. And then in those instances, it's really great to tag and mark, or even spend a few hours going through them with them so that they are familiar.
Right. That's what I was thinking of. Like, I just recently had Wingnut Social step in and handle all of my social media for me while my person was on maternity leave. And so, I didn't make it very easy for them because I'm not this highly organized at this level in this part of my business. But I did just say, look, here's the Dropbox. Here's the Dropbox for WindowWorks. Here's all the images. Here's the Dropbox for LuAnn Nigara. And we have it organized as far as by event or whatever. But I could see how, if I am a designer that is growing my firm, and there are going to be people other than me handling this, that I would like to see it by, project and kitchen, bath, master bedroom, or whatever, because maybe I'm not available to answer the question. Maybe I don't need to be involved. Like, I wasn't involved in selecting the pictures for the last 3 months for my social media. I want to know what the copy is. I give you the content, but I don't care what picture you use, honestly. There's the Dropbox of all the LuAnn faces. Pick a face. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Yeah.
And I open my phone. I'm like, I don't love that picture. That's okay. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's part of growing a successful business, is you have to let go of control.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You that much control, you're never if you have to make every decision and you're always the bottleneck, like, you're just going to be spending time, like, you're all day, you're just going to be saying yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, right? Like, you just got to let it go and, like, okay.
I'm good at letting it go. That's all I can tell you. I'm a little too good at it. That's my thing. It's like, you're a grown-up. Go do your job. I'll see you. Bye.
I love it. That's great.
Oh, but I have to say, Wingnut Social did an amazing job stepping in and picking up the ball and just keeping the train running until Christy came back. So I'm very grateful to them. All righty. So now we're going to go back to number 3. Part partner with big names. Tell us a little bit about how we do this.
Absolutely. So I think, consider partnering with other influencers in the industry, whether that also looks like partnering with an architect or a custom builder that's really aligned with your morals and in your area, someone you respect or might have worked with frequently, as well as partnering with interior design brands in the industry. There's just so many different ways that you can partner with a Korean company or, with Varellen Furniture, or there's just an endless number of really great vendors out there, especially, your top 10 vendors. That's also a fun practice, is just look at like, who are my top 10 vendors that I have purchased the most from over the last year or two. And, think about ways that you can partner with them. It could be that you do, a social media takeover for them. It could be that you have just finished a great project and you have really high res images of, the beautiful rugs. And so, sharing those on your social media or asking them to share them on their social media, I think partnerships are great to just grow your brand, to link together. I think we grow stronger together when we have really great partnerships. And so just looking at different ways to create some good synergies and partner with them on outreach, whether it be social media or even in PR.
Okay. And do we want to understand that just like the media outlets and the print magazines and so forth are literally every day trying to fill their products with content, right? So like when I had Ren Miller on he's the editor-in-chief of Design New Jersey. It was a regional interior design magazine here, right? And he was so funny. I mean, I think it was like episode, 9, 10, 15 or something very in the beginning. And it was a light bulb moment for me when he was explaining, I need content. Yes, LuAnn, pitch me. I was like, we're all like thinking, what should I can't possibly, that would be. And it was like such a huge light bulb moment, 4.5 years ago, right? So do we want to have that same outlook when we think about approaching, like when you say, make your list of your top 10 brands. And so maybe I look and I say, you know what, I did $100,000 with Kravat last year, right? Or I did, $85,000 with Monogram last year, or $80,000 with Jaipur. These are my sponsors, right? And of course I'm calling them out as a good sponsor girl here. But the point is, if these are your top 10 brands, do we make an assumption just like the media needs content that these brands are probably interested in looking for this? Or is this a little bit bigger stretch and maybe your relationship has to start out a little bit? You know what I'm saying? How do we start that door? How do we open that door? Do we just go in and say, hey, I'd like to do this? Or are there things that we do that show that we're there first in support and service beyond all of the money we've spent with them, right? How does it work?
Absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, they are looking for content. Having, done PR and we work with a lot of brands, they're always trying to figure out ways like, how can we get more images of our finished projects, of our finished product, of a product of ours actually in a home or in a hotel or in a space. They're always thinking of ways that they can reach out to designers to get more high-res images to use for their marketing, right? So they are just as much need of content as we are. We live in a digital era where like content is king, content is everywhere, we need content for social media, for emails, for websites. I mean, the list goes on, right? For press, for PR. So they absolutely need content just as much as media does. I mean, that's also a big misconception is, media and brands, they're in need of content, and they now more than ever are wanting more content. They're needing more content. Like, please pitch us. We need to put it online. We need to put it in print. We're on deadline. So, I think brands are just as hungry for content as is media and publications.
I love it. So it does make sense though, to start with brands that you have a relationship with, where they can go and look to your account and say, oh yeah, we do a good amount of business with this interior designer. Probably not a requirement, but it's not different. Brands are humans too, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're going to support, if they're going to do something, isn't it it's just logical to think that they would look to do the reciprocal relationship and the promotion with somebody that there is a reason and a valid relationship, right? Whether they were aware of it before that or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, designers are like, well, where do I even start? And I said, well, why not just start with your QuickBooks file, look within and say, hey, these are the brands that I'm doing the most work with. I obviously like this brand because I keep on specifying and using all their products in all of my projects. So look within and say, hey, you know what? These are the top brands. Or even just brands that you really, emulate well with. We have a client who always wears Rothy's shoes. So we reached out to them to do a partnership, and she's such a cute designer and she always has her shoes on. And so why not, do a partnership with them, even, stretching beyond interiors and looking at lifestyle and how to expose and expand to that lifestyle space. So I think there's just so many different cool tools and ways that we can look at how do we figure out, our top list of who we'd like to partner with. And I think I found that that's just the best way to really come up with that target list.
I like that. And also you did mention partnering, proposing partnerships with an architect or a builder that you've worked with over and over, or even one or two really fantastic projects, because it's interesting. I recently had Brad Leavitt on the podcast, and he is the founder of AFT Construction in Arizona. He also has a podcast called AFT Construction Podcast, which is an amazing podcast for designers to listen to. You get a lot of great information there. But the thing is, he brought up to us that one of the valuable reasons why he won't do a build project if the client doesn't have an interior designer on board. First of all, he's gotten to the point of his career as a luxury builder, and it's just an NO if you're not going to hire a designer, because he knows a designer is going to save him time and money and make the project more efficient. But one of the other things he brought out, Natalie, was that how much more likely he is to get his projects in national and regional magazines and publications if an interior designer is involved, because he delivers a beautiful house, but until the furnishings go in and until all of the pretty is added, what are those pictures? An empty house? Like, oh, here, let's close up on that door hardware. I mean, that's a good picture, but, Architectural Digest isn't going to put a picture of an empty house in, right? And so this, this is a major, point of yours, is to look to relationships, and the architect and the builder are great places to look to, especially if you've been involved in the project and you had it and you really, you hit it off. You can together, provide a really awesome pitch to a particular outlet, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can come together and, pitch a really great story, and it just tells a little bit more of, the dynamics, and have quotes from both the architect and the designer, even the builder, in that pitch just makes it much more dynamic, especially if the homeowner is willing to be involved and, their take on the project and, why they wanted to make the playroom with, certain fabrics because of their dogs and their 3 kids that eat Cheetos every day or what have you. It just makes it much more personal, right? So partnerships, I think, are just key for growth. Like, we're much stronger when we all work together, grow together, figure out ways to collaborate. Even, collaborations with realtors is also really great, so that they can share on their social media, like, hey, we sold this house, they remodeled it, and look at it now, and it's beautiful. And, there's just so many different ways that you can look at, leveraging partnerships with people that you work with a lot. I think architects and builders are great ones to align with. They also are in need of a lot of content, just as a designer is in need of a lot of content. So showcasing and sharing in high-res images, even sharing in the cost of photography. There's just so many different ways that we can, look at a project and figure out some really great, business strategies and marketing strategies.
I love it. It's awesome. Such great advice. And then number 4 is build relationships with the media. Tell us a little bit about some strategies on how to do this, Natalie.
Yeah, so I think, getting to know the editorial teams at your top 5 publications is key. Reading their previous work, and if they, knowing that if they like you, that they will trust your work and they are more likely to come to you when they are in need of content. And so, again, like we were talking a little bit about timing is everything and knowing their editorial calendars, this really parlays into that as well. I mean, really, it's about relationships again. So building the relationships with the media, understanding who the editorial team is, reading all of their previous work is great. This gives you insight on what they write about, how they write, why they write. And so I think, ultimately just realizing like the person on the other side is human, you're building a friendship and a relationship with them.
Now, back in the day, all of 4 years ago, I remember the advice was that you would often find the writers for major publications on Twitter, that was the number one place to find them, that the suggestion and advice was to find them on Twitter, follow them, comment, support them there. Is that the case for design editors and writers, or is that really just like Forbes and Success and Inc. magazine and that type of publication?
Yeah, I think we see more design editors on Instagram. They tend to be a little bit more visual, emotional, beautiful photos. They tend to have really great Instagram followings, really great, beautiful channels. So Instagram is a great place to find more editors. We have a pretty extensive editor list included with our membership that we give that has over 2,500 contacts and all of their emails as well. But you can find them on Instagram. You can find them by reading their stories, right? I mean, just looking them up online. And there's just a ton of great resources where you can, get lists of editors. We actually just added a interior design bloggers contact list, as well as an interior design podcast list today to our membership. So excited to share that with designers out there who are wanting to, get more exposure with publications as well as blogs and podcasts.
That's very good. I love it. I love it. Such great advice. And the thing is, again, it's build a little relationship, right? Be supportive, share their stuff, talk to them about the compliment what they've done and understand what they've done. To my, little pet peeve that I had at the beginning, like, if somebody always writes about farmhouses, and don't talk to them about the high-rise condo project that somebody else did, right? Like, understand. To your point, they're human beings and they're working very hard at what they're doing. And if you say that you recognize and value them for what they do, then actually connect it to what they do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And serve them what that they're already serving, right? Like if they're vegan, you're not going to say like, ooh, would you like a steak? Like I don't eat steak, so I don't want a steak, so yeah, serve them what, that they are going to want to digest. They're going to want to share. They're going to be interested in it. And that just helps to build trust. And then when you build trust, then you build relationship. And then, they'll start coming to you when they're needing content to do as well. So I think it just becomes that reciprocal synergy, and relationship building is really one of the most important parts of PR. Because as you build relationships with media, yes, there is a lot of movement typically happening within the editorial space, but they typically move vertically, right? So they might move from El Decor to House Beautiful, but oftentimes, there is movement, but you're still building that relationship with them, and they're most likely going to go to, another space within the design community.
Mm-hmm. Right. They're staying in the industry. So you make a good relationship and connection with them, even though they might switch positions, they're probably staying in the industry. They're not going to Science Digest.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I love it. I love this type of show, the 1 to 5. Do these 5 things with 10 things under each one on how to do it. It's just so terrific, Natalie. And of course, you and your firm are just a great resource for information. And you have everything from the done for you, the do it yourself type of PR, all the way to full service, right? Tell us a little bit about your services that you provide.
Yeah, so our do-it-yourself platform is interiordesignpr.com, and it's where we give you all the tools that you need to get yourself published. It's really great for design firms that are anywhere between 0 to 2 million in annual revenue. that really want to get published, but don't necessarily have the resources to hire a full service agency yet. And then A Design Partnership is our full service agency, and that's where, we work with interior designers and brands to get published. And so either way, we, offer both. We're really excited about just the launch of interior design PR this year and being able to really serve a larger capacity of interior designers and help them in getting published. And it's been an interesting road just trying to change the industry mindset. I think a lot of designers think that they do need to hire an expensive publicist to get published, and they really don't. They just need the tools in order to do so and have the resources and the know-how to do it. And so we're really excited to be able to offer all of those great tools to designers.
I love it. I mean, the thing about it is that, make no mistake about it, if you're going to do this well, until you do the hard work with the questionnaire and really figuring out who you are, what your message is, and then going out there and being the face of your brand, and then establishing these partnerships with some colleagues and some brands and vendors, all right, and then building your relationships with the media, and then understanding and pitching and doing it well and doing it in the right timing. This is one of those things. It sounds easy, but it's not. Like it sounds simple, but it's not easy. You do have to, if you take the time, I agree with you. If you take the time to do the work, you really can then get it to a well-oiled machine that you're setting it down every other Friday and you're cranking it out and you can do it yourself. So it's just a matter of understanding that do it yourself doesn't mean sit down in a minute and it's done. It's just like everything else we do. We've got to put the time and energy into doing it. And depending on where you are in your business journey, you might be at the point where you're just like, I'm just going to hire you to do it. Just go do it for me, right? You still have to come to the table and do all the work with you, but then it's facilitated, right, Natalie?
Right, absolutely. And that is really the difference. I mean, thankfully, we make it as easy as possible. I mean, all of the pitches we custom write. We add in 6 new pitches every month on the 15th of the month. So it's pretty simple, as easy as copy, paste, add your photos, and press send. And that helps to kind of minimize the time, because once you begin, having to write all of your pitches, that's where, it becomes very time consuming. So because we give the tools, we give all of the pitches, it's fairly simple. You copy, paste, and, send. We also include 4 SEO keyword researched blog posts every month. Social media posts and email marketing templates are all included in the membership. And we've recently added the influencer toolkit, which also has a list of brands that you can reach out to, and a full media kit on everything you need to kind of send to the brands to get those partnerships. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, there's a lot of resource in there, from, PR to marketing your interior design firm.
Wow. And this is this is found at interiordesignpr.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, interiordesignpr.com.
Perfect. I love it. That's a lot of information there, a lot of resources, as you said. And what you're doing is you're offering listeners of the show a discount at the when they go to the cart, if they put the promo code LuAnn in, LuAnn, right? You're giving 20% off the first month, I think, right?
Yes, absolutely. So all of the listeners, head on over and enter in the promo code at checkout, LuAnn, and they'll get 20% off the first month's membership.
That's exciting. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So good, Natalie. I cannot thank you enough for bringing such terrific information right to us in such a direct way that we can understand and can digest, and offering the discount to everybody. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you so much for having. And if anybody would like the personality questionnaire, or if you even just have questions on how do I get myself published, feel free to email me at hello@interiordesignpr.com, and either myself or one of our PR experts will get right back to you.
Get ready. That's awesome. Thanks a lot, Natalie.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for having me.
How about that? 5 specific strategies for getting PR for your firm. I love it. So awesome. First, I want to thank Monogram before I share my thoughts with you. Thank you to Monogram for sponsoring the show. And I want to know, are you set up with Monogram's Design Partner Trade Program yet? If not, go to monogram.com/LuAnn. In episode number 536, you heard Alex and Rob from Monogram talk exactly about what Natalie talked about today. At Monogram, they are invested in partnering with you. They want to collaborate with you, and they are truly interested in building a relationship with you. This is the foundation for these possible PR opportunities that come down the road. Who knows? It's never not a good idea to build a nice relationship. All right. And obviously the gorgeous luxury appliances that you can specify for your projects, they're the icing on the cake. So go to monogram.com/LuAnn and get your trade account set up today. Now, we all know how valuable PR is, and it is never more important than it is if you are listening in real time, spring of 2020, during the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. So I've been telling you, if you intend to survive this, if you intend for your business to come through this economic crisis, then you must keep up your marketing. And PR goes hand in hand with marketing. So my advice is to listen to Natalie's advice and buckle down now. Get your collateral information ready. Get your ideal client identified. Reach out to your colleagues, the builders, the architects, the realtors, the brands, the editors, and get those relationships going now. So many good tips from Natalie, and I'm so glad that she came back on the show today and shared them with us. Don't forget that if you are interested in her membership with all of the templates, the checklists, the resources for your do-it-yourself PR, you can go to interiordesignpr.com and use the code LuAnn at checkout for 20% off your first month. And also, if you're ready for full service PR firm, then absolutely check out a design partnership and see what that will give to you. All right. Now, if you want more information on PR and want to have some little bit more background on how to approach this, we have Amy Fleury, the author of Recipe for Press and Recipe for Press for Designers. She was on the show episode number 108 and 323. And I also mentioned Ren Miller, the editor-in-chief of Design New Jersey. He was on episode number 12, and he specifically talked about some very, like the way he really likes to be pitched. And so, and the components of a good pitch and how to prepare that email. So that's a great episode. I would go back and listen to it. Okay. All righty. Thank you so much for joining me today. You do have a lot of homework for this show. Hopefully you can fit it in with all the homeschooling you might be doing. I have to say, my hat's off to you if homeschooling is on your plate now too. Honest to goodness. Hang in there, everybody. We're going to get through it. We always do. We always will, as long as that we're intentional each day and we stick to our focus. Okay? Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.